This island is constantly shifting. You can see how much we lost in our last storm, like that, how that dune's just basically a huge drop off. Typically, it's not supposed to be like that.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Bisesi. I'm an educator with the North Carolina Coastal Federation. Really excited to be here to teach you all about Hammocks Beach State Park today.
Yeah. My name is Jason. I'm the Schools and Parks Specialist here at Hammocks Beach State Park. So Schools and Parks, sort of like an outreach education group. We're looking for elementary teachers 3rd through 5th to partner with us. It's a 3-year process in which we will reimburse you for field trips, get you comfortable and your students comfortable with learning outdoors. And yeah. Well, how about if I do some instructions here before we get over to the more windy side? May I borrow that, please? Of course. All right. So you guys are in teams. And again, you can target this for whatever strand fits your grade level. Thanks, Gary. So with, again, with 3rd grade, this hits on landforms. With 4th grade, you can compare how a barrier island here and the barrier islands such as Emerald Isle would differ, and then tie in that preventing erosion piece for the Emerald Isle part. Here we don't really mind because we don't have, other than this, we don't have structures that we're too concerned that get damaged. Whereas if you live on Emerald Isle's barrier island, you've got that ever-shifting sand. If you have a beach house, you got beach house property, after a storm you may not have a front yard, or half of your house might be falling into the water. So then you can start coming up with methods and tying in living shorelines to help slow down that wave energy.
Yeah, 4th grade has a really great stewardship component. So any of those nature-based solutions that we talked about, living shorelines, or even the stormwater solutions, could tie into that curriculum.
And then with 5th grade, you can break this down, these zones down into mini ecosystems, back to where we can find our fiddler crabs and those juveniles helping to build up our estuaries, adaptations of plants and their survival rate. So the activity itself, since you're buddied up, you are going to build your own mini barrier island. And since we're adults, we can get pretty close to where the waves are coming in. I'll let you be the judge of exactly how far or close to that wave, but it has to come in contact with water, okay? That's part 1 of this challenge. You also have to build within an arm's length of each other, because what you're doing is that you would have your barrier island, your neighbor has theirs, just like Bear Island and Emerald Isle. You have an inlet that's going to come in between those two. But I want you to watch what happens to the sand as well as the water as those waves come in to make contact with your island, as well as what erosion effects you might see occurring. All right, so that's part 2. Part 3, you have your cross-section maps. You need to build a replica of your own barrier island based off this, okay? So we already have our ocean. You don't have to build that. You've got your beach, which is going to be right by where those waves are forming, but you are responsible for forming your dunes. And again, I apologize, this illustration is not truly accurate. More times than not, your second dune is actually going to be taller than your first line of dunes. You've got your 2 dunes. You also have to have your maritime forest, okay? And then the back part of your barrier island, you just kind of make it as flat as possible. That'll lead you on down to your salt marsh, which is basically like a sponge that soaks up all that water that might protrude around those inlets. Does that make sense? Okay. If you like, I'll make a model once we get out there. And then again, you and your friend, 1 arm's length away from the team next to you to build. Don't cheat and make it 2, okay? But just make it 1 arm length. And for students, I would recommend, so they don't go like crazy gigantic, just have it built from the tip of your finger to your elbow. That's as long as your barrier island needs to be.
And you need to name your island, be creative. You can use things from nature, but please don't use any living plants or animals, but you can use shells or dead grasses that you see on the shoreline, seaweed that's washed up, that's fine. But yeah, be creative. And I think this is a great activity, sorry Jason, because not only are we doing this for barrier islands, but you can really do this for any ecosystem that you're teaching about. You could replicate this in the classroom or outside in the schoolyard.
Please do not pick any rooted grasses that are out here on our side, and please stay off of the dunes. Okay, but other than that, that's pretty much the rule. So we can start walking out that way. I'll make a little model and just show you kind of an idea of what mine would look like. It doesn't have to be made like mine. I'm just going to go based off the map.
One time I had a student, it was so creative, took a little disposable camera, do y'all remember those? Back in the day, and turned the camera and had the flash going, and he said it was a little lighthouse.
Nice.
Yeah, so be creative.
Be creative?
Yeah,
Okay.
it'll be fun. Playing in the sand.
I have my maritime in the back, and then hopefully these waves get in. This is going to be one side of my inlet. It's going to be the other side, so I've got it built the length of my arm.
Put some shells on your beach. Here it comes. Woo!
Come on, waves.
It's got it. It's chilly. I'll put some oysters on the sound side.
It'll be all right.
Here, let's build one up here.
And this is really great too, because I'm sure y'all are aware, but with the new like science standard
There we go.
changes, modeling is super big, and so this is a way to have the students build a model, and then they have to create an argument for why their barrier island is working. So that's also big in the new standards.
So I want to take a look and just like observe the shift in my sand, because again, this island is constantly shifting. You can see how much we lost in our last storm, like that, how that dune's just basically a huge drop off. Typically, you know, it's not supposed to be like that. It's rounded out. With homes built at Emerald Isle for 4th grade, we used to focus more on, here's your lot of land, here's a Lego beach house that you have, here are a bunch of random materials that you have to budget for. Now you have to construct some type of method to make sure your method doesn't get washed away, water doesn't enter in the backside of your house, just adding little stipulations to that. So that's more of a 4th grade mindset. The environmental mindset of here is more of just observing how these things change within nature, what erosion is, where can I spot evidence of that happening, and then again, just the different landforms, land masses of that. And again, this is where you have students take out journals, sit down, write, sketch. I do that quite often just as modeling for those students too. In fact, I think I've got a few. I think I brought mine.
And you math teachers, you maybe could do something about slope on the beach, or even like the dunes.
Because you might have some kids that really strive in art, right? Maybe they're not great at taking notes, but they like to draw, all right? So that you can have them sketch out their design and label those parts, sit down and just observe, like, what do they see happening with those things, or just simple labeling.
Did you draw that?
It might sound simple, but like a lot of kids thrive on that and will probably be able to remember it. Like as a kid, I used to doodle on my notebook a lot because that would help me remember the things that the teacher was talking about. I was a pretty poor student.
Did you draw that, Jason?
I did.
That's amazing.
Thank you. That
Wow.
was amazing, but it was
Can
good.
you see the bird that's on the back of the journal? He's,
Woodpecker?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then like, it's
My little squeaker.
Wow.
Yeah. But
Jason, I didn't know he was an artist.
But the I see, I know, I wonder, those statements right there are pretty powerful for kids. And it's just observation skills,
yeah.
simple observation skills.
There's a lot of research I've seen too now about how, just like Jason said, drawing and taking notes in a nature journal can help the students remember the information.
So that's kind of the model. I was just kind of seeing like where the waves were washing up. I thought that was going to be close enough. I just need to finish my back end and add my maritime, but if you would like to participate in this, by all means, hop on in. And if not, just want to observe, I understand that too.
This is the primary,
Yeah.
the secondary, the maritime forest.
That's right. And then backside would
Is
be
this on
my,
purpose?
that's unfinished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't do a salt marsh, really. It just
You could dig down a little further because that's where all that water gets soaked in and absorbed.
and should we come a little closer?
That's what I was doing because this first one, yeah, I was moving it forward. That's going to be my new primary.
I usually have all the kids come and then the group present
Share
to
out.
everybody
Yep.
and they like share out. And then they have to point out the different habitats on the island.
It's a good
Are you
use.
ready for that?
Sure, we've got
Okay.
our ocean,
Yep.
we got our first dune, then we got our second dunes, which you said were a little bit taller, our ocean forest, and we've got our inlets on both sides, and then we got the island over there.
Very good. Yeah.
Where's your salt marsh at?
Salt marsh.
Back there.
It's been washed away already.
Oh, okay.
It's all right.
Can
We
you think
have-
of anything that
we
would
have
help
these.
protect the salt marsh?
We would need the walls back here to, so you need your wall back here, that living edge that you were talking about, a little bit more cut back there.
Nice.
And it's actually doing its job because, like, you can see it. Like, I know most of that washes out, but that just seeps right into the ground, and that's kind of what your marsh is. It's that huge sponge that absorbs all that extra water coming in.
And what's the name of your island?
Wolfpack Island.
Wolfpack Island.
Wolfpack Island.
Right on.
How
The shape of the wolf pack too.
do you have wolves on your island? Red wolves?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
They're all there.
There are red wolves in the northern part of the coast.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool.
I'm just curious, like, how do you think you could apply this, or not just this, but like, is there any way you could tie this content? Is this part of your standards, or does it hit on any topics at all you might cover?
I'm trying to think where it would hit with 8th grade math.
It's hard.
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Other than teaching them that models work, you know, when we're doing area perimeters and everything else, we're always, you know, encouraging them to draw a model,
Right, right.
and getting them to understand that models can actually show it to you how it really works. That could be, you know, just the realization of what models can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I left it up there where we had lunch, but I have the designs from when they did the living shorelines on the sound side. And did you do any computer type modeling?
I do not, but they do in like their STEM classes and stuff like that. So
I was wondering
Okay.
if you had the model like on the GIS or something, then you could like have them measure out the shoreline.
oh yeah,
and-
we can do stuff. I can see. I
Do
mean, doing
slope.
stuff with slope. The slope is one of the biggest parts of 8th grade math. So, you know, the slope of what slope works best for the living shorelines, that kind of stuff. That could definitely be
Yeah.
part that we could tie in. You know, what angle works best for the slope of the shoreline.
Yeah, I
Hey,
have some
we're
of
still
those
standing.
designs.
Oh, that was a big one, but the living wall helped. The wall.
Oh, thank you,
All right,
Wolfpack
thanks for-
Island.
Wolfpack
Yeah.
Island, there we go.
Oh yeah.
Good job. We're gonna come over here. Are y'all ready to present your island?
Look at this.
Wow, is that an osprey nest?
Sure. I saw it as a butterfly, but it is up top, so we'll call it an osprey nest. Our flounder have buried. We had flounder. I don't know where they went. They must have gone out. Oh, there's one, because they like to bury and camouflage.
There you go.
So, oh, there it is. No, I don't know what this is.
You want to walk us through your zones?
We have the whole ocean intertidal zone. We have our primary dunes that have served their purpose because the secondary dune has survived. We've had to rebuild the primary a few times, but secondary has survived. So the secondary dunes. We have our maritime forest with a habitat of a nest, bird, butterfly, winged thing.
Love it.
And then we did a living shoreline that has a combination of some man-made objects
I love
and
that.
organic oyster shells for our marsh area.
Very
Beautiful.
good.
What is the name of your island?
So it is Elm Island.
Elm Island?
ELM.
Oh,
It's his initials.
That's too much.
Yeah, it's his initials, but that's
It's nice. Remind me again, what grade levels or topics do you guys?
7-8 science.
7-8 science.
Science.
Does any of these
Eight
standards hit at all?
I mean, hydrosphere, all over hydrosphere, all over predator-prey relationship,
Yeah, it's all A,
ecosystems.
all the way.
I also teach Earth Environmental for credit for the math 1 kids who are a little bit ahead.
Okay.
And they can also, 8th grade science and Earth Environmental bleed together really nicely with the standards. And so there's a cross-curricular thing going on with all of those.
Excellent.
For
Great.
sure.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank
Elm
you.
Island, I love it.
There it is.
That's
And
really
flounder,
sweet.
So, you know, whoops, this flounder escapes. We're
Yeah.
gonna get back
My
to that.
favorite thing.
There's the flounder for the season.
I want to see what happens in this inlet right here when this body of water comes in and how it affects, if we got any shifting of the sand from one beach to the next. Because that also happens too.
Right there.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we tried making inlets, they filled in.
And you can also talk about how barrier islands are dynamic systems. You know, they're breathing with the storms and the changes in the environment, and throughout geological history, they move and change over time. And when we get in trouble is when we have a lot of houses on them
Right.
and they're not able to breathe as they naturally would have.
Very good. Very good.
Good job.
All right. Team.
Well, this is Hawk Island. Hawk because that's our mascot at Newport.
Yeah.
And we have our beach and our primary dune and secondary dune with their grasses.
Very
with
good.
These amazing intricate root systems. Yes. That are there.
I was nerding out about the roots earlier.
And she was like, "That's not enthusiasm." I said,
Nobody was as excited as I was.
we have our maritime forest where some of the trees are bending to the sea spray.
I love that.
And then our salt marsh and our living. Did we go with living? Yeah,
Beautiful.
Cool.
to protect our salt marsh.
Hawk Island.
And grade levels that you hit again?
I'm fourth.
Okay. So somewhat maybe with erosion.
And even just in the classroom, not necessarily as like an environmental study, but like to make like a cross section of North Carolina. So you have to learn like all the.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Yes.
Yes.
That would be awesome.
Very
What
good.
about you?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Second grade, it's like energy, like sound waves, right?
And life cycles and
Life
water
cycles.
cycles.
That's where we usually tie in the Rachel Park.
Okay. Yeah.
The life cycle of the butterfly.
Well, we can tie in life cycles in this back part for sure too, as well as up near. And of course, we do have like, you know, on our island we have deer. I mean, there's snakes, there's coyotes, raccoons, possums, and then we have sea turtles that come up here to nest during the summer, and then they're predators of, you know, the shorebirds and the ghost crabs.
Have a life cycle activity for the oysters. I can show you back at the office.
And when there is a life cycle, it's like a game of tag. It's sort of like Sharks and Minnows. It's a project or aquatic wet or aquatic wild activity. It's all about the sea turtles. And so you have, some kids are designated as those sea turtles, and you have you can do this out in the playground.
Yes. Oh, I've got this game, but it's deer.
Yes.
And the deer have to run around. They have to choose like shelter, food,
Right,
or
or
water.
water.
And they're turned around, and so you can't. The wolf
Yes.
or whatever
Right.
can't tell what. No, first there's no wolf, but it's like they've got one side of the classroom is lined up, and they've chosen to be a certain resource. Then the deer have to choose a resource, and then when they turn around, they have to run and race to the resource, so it shows like scarcity. But then you introduce a wolf into the population. Really fun.
Yeah. So this is similar to that. To if, let's say, this is beach, all this is ocean, and then out here, this is like a food zone. So how
Y'all
this works,
hungry?
you have a sea turtle
Kinda.
that needs to
We could,
cross over the beach,
Oh yeah.
and
yeah.
as soon as it gets past a
could
certain
do some-
point,
a little
that's
bit
when
of
I
free
let
time if they want,
a land
and
predator
then
enter the game.
want.
And so that can be a crab. And so these sea turtles, they have like little
We said
tokens. I think
12:30
they
for
start
the
with
ferry,
10.
but we're kind of,
If you get tagged, you hand one token over because that represents 10 of your eggs. So you're using some skip counting as well to keep track. So you hand that predator their token. They can't tag you again, you know, no tag backs, whatever. And then they proceed on.
Probably.
Once they cross
would
over
need
there
to
in the
head
ocean,
back at,
you've
like,
got ocean
12:15
predators.
if we
Same
wanna
thing
be
applies.
there at
Now, within the ocean, you can put out hula hoops to represent a seagrass zone.
Yeah.
So if they're in there, that's base. They're safe. Can't be tagged. And you can stay in there as long as you want, but there's a time limit on getting from here to here and back. And in some rounds, you do multiple rounds, like how many you can get. Once you pass this line, now you're growing up to become an adult. And I have like other tokens spread out that represent a life span or a year span, maybe 10 years. They have to grab that token and make it all the way back to where they started and put it in like a bucket, okay? So they repeat that process, and if they run out of those little tokens that they have, they're out, they're like a beach house sitting out on the side or something like that. You can increase that with the predation. You have land predators, you get your sea predators, and then you have air. And air can cross over both zones. And then you can also make it to where sea prey predators can attack air predators. So you can incorporate a whole food web with that type of thing.
Yeah.
But that's one that I've kind of taken from, I think it's Aquatic Wild or something like that, and just morphed it.
Was saying is from the, it's not the sea.
I loved your little living shoreline though.
Yes.
There's the water
Yeah.
one, and then I forget the one that I've got behind me from that one.
Okay.
I loved it.
Yeah. They have loads. There's like Project Wild, the Aquatic Wild,
Good job,
Aquatic Wet,
everybody.
all those. Yeah.
Behind it, the living shoreline.
Yeah, you might want to pick it off the pylon.
This is an extreme tide example. If you see any oysters, let me know. You caught an acorn? Great job. I think you're right.
Leaves and acorns.
With students, if we had that amount of time. But we can do a little debrief real quick because it is, I think they said about 3:15.
Oh yeah.
Carrie went in.
I said on the swing.
You got some oysters, Bill. Thank you. Oh, little mussel. Big mussels. Okay.
The sea pickle thing you were talking about earlier?
Yes. Glasswort. So usually I would make sure we had at least an hour to do this activity with students. Sometimes at the park we have to do 30-minute rotations, which is quick. But 30 minutes to an hour at least, because it's a lot of fun for the kids. Again, only to their knees though. We don't really go as deep as we went today.
How many kids is a good number?
Um,
Too many.
I've done full classes at Hammocks before.
Yeah. So when we have them in groups, we try to, like, that's why we try to come up with at least 3 rotations for them, especially like if it's just large groups. In our space, it's not as open as this, so maybe, I don't know, 15, 16, something like that, possibly. And we're also kind of limited on how many nets we have. We have, I think, 3 or 4 seine nets. We have 2 or 3 cast nets, and then I think we have like 3 or 4 of the dip nets. So try to keep it to where some students not just bored that doesn't have a job to do.
I left one of my laminated sheets in the truck, but I'll show y'all when we get back up there. But this is one of the lessons that I would do in the marsh is the quadrat study. And I would talk to the students about what a quadrat is and how scientists would do transects and how we collect data. And so they would, together as a class, we would kind of go through the general information and talk about how important that information is. My example is that when I was an intern for the Coastal Federation, I had to submit all the data from the living shoreline sampling into, or monitoring into spreadsheets. And sometimes people hadn't put the date on their data sheet, or they didn't put the location. And guess what I had to do with that data? I had to throw the data sheet away. So we talk about the value of some of this information, and then we look at the tide and the weather conditions, where we are, what watershed we're in. And then we usually do 4 samples on a transect through the different zones of the marsh, so that right against the edge of the water in the low marsh area where we have our smooth cordgrass or that Spartina alterniflora, in the mid marsh, in the middle, and then in the high marsh where we have more of this black needle rush or Spartina patens. And they can use this little guide to help them identify some of the plants and animals, and then I'm out there helping to identify things as well. But the main takeaway is that even though we're in the same habitat, there can be different plants and animals in different elevation zones of the marsh. And small changes can be big for what plants grow there. And so just a way to learn about how scientists collect data using quadrants. Y'all caught some cool stuff even though we're only out here a few minutes. What do we get?
There you go.
Oh, what?
Got glass shrimp,
Crazy.
which are sometimes called grass shrimp because they live in the grasses and they're translucent like glass. Bill, thank you, found some oyster shells. We talked a little bit about oysters earlier, but why are oysters important? They're filter feeders. How many gallons can one oyster filter a day? Do y'all know?
50.
Up to 50 gallons of water. Every day, one oyster can clean. And I'm trying to find that one clump you gave me, Bill, that had the little mussel on it.
Maybe in this
Is
one.
it this one?
That one.
This other one? Did it fall off? Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
So the one oyster shell can be habitat for a lot of other species as well. And so it's neat to just look at this one small shell and how many different plants and animals can be growing on top of it. Like this little mussel shell, or sometimes there's little worms that grow on the outside of the oysters, barnacles, clams, and a lot of animals will use the oysters for food as well as habitat. So we say the 3 F's: food, filtration, and fish habitat are why we love oysters. My coworker Bonnie added another one, fringe, because they like to grow on top of each other. Yeah. And the life cycle, so when a baby oyster is born, floats out in the water for about 2 weeks, it's planktonic, and then it has to find a hard surface to attach to, so it'll glue itself to a hard surface. Guess what their favorite thing to glue themselves to is? Other oyster shells. So that is why Coastal Federation and other groups have oyster shell recycling programs, because we'll take the recycled shells and put them back in the estuary because it provides a substrate for the oyster larvae to attach to and grow up and then become a new living healthy oyster reef. A healthy oyster reef can be home to up to 300 different species in the estuary.
Do you ever partner with restaurants to try to reclaim their oyster shells?
Yes, we
'Cause I
do.
did a short stint at one for a summer job and they all went in the trash can.
Yes.
That was
So it's actually in North Carolina, it's not enforced, but it's illegal to throw away your oyster shells because of the restoration benefits. And so we do partner with restaurants from time to time. We have a program called Restaurants to Reefs.
So is that who is bringing like shipments of oysters to you guys at the facility?
Most of the shells that we get, so we actually did a really cool project with some different high schools, Havelock High School and NC State students. Where's my NC State student? Yep. And we bought some dumpsters. I never thought I would be working on dumpsters, but we bought some big dumpsters and we had the students paint them as like a little oyster reef. And they are at some different convenience sites in Carteret County, and Craven County, and Pamlico County. And they are for people to have easy access to drop off their oyster shells after they have their own personal oyster roasts. So when those bins fill up, Coastal Environmental Partnership will bring the bins to our office and we can use them for restoration. And then we have trailers and other bins that people can drop shells off at throughout all of the coastal counties. But we are trying to build that program up. It used to be run by the state Division of Marine Fisheries, and they lost funding for it several years ago, and slowly Coastal Federation has been trying to pick that up. We have a site at Hammocks Beach State Park where people can drop off their shells too. So if you have oyster shells, we want them. We'll take them. We'll put them back in the water for restoration. And then somebody caught a fish over here. Let me see. 2 fish. Uh-oh, that guy doesn't look too happy, does he? For some like miraculous way, I caught that just then. I do have a little net, so if you're ever doing this with students, I use these little nets to help me catch things that they catch. And I have these little containers that I got off the Acorn Naturalist, and
Actually, better for them if you use the jar, though. Better for the fish.
Use the what?
It's less stressful for the fish if you use the jar.
The jars. I would imagine, yeah. I try to use the net to catch it and put it in the little jar. But I let them pass it around. I think that's a silver side. Y'all just want to look at it when me hold it. I was like trying to give it to you.
It's
like I know what
I
fish looks like.
Trying to give it.
Y'all are just like.
Absolutely refuse.
And then we'll test the salinity using the hydrometers. Anybody want to fill it up?
Okay.
Let me make sure. Sometimes they get stuck. And I have to.
Testing with that? What are we testing with that?
The salinity. So we're measuring salinity in parts per thousand ppt. That means if there's 1,000 buckets of water, whatever number we get, it's going to be how many are filled with salt. Usually ocean water is about 35 parts per thousand or higher. And then what would brackish water be? Less than that, absolutely. So fresh water is going to be 0 or really, really low, and then brackish water will be somewhere in between. So yeah, you did a good job. You're going to fill it up till it bubbles, and then I have the students kind of hold it as level as they can or put it on a surface, and you want to read those numbers on the outside.
Almost to 30.
Yeah, so it's about 30 parts per thousand. And then another way that you can measure salinity is we have refractometers. And so have y'all ever used these before?
On a saltwater tank that was a COVID project.
Oh, fun.
That took on a lot more work than you thought.
So this one, you just get a sample of the water using the dropper. You drop it on the glass end here, cover it up, and then it's kind of like looking through a kaleidoscope. Not as many fun colors, but you want to hold it up towards the light, and there's a space where the blue section beats the white section, and right in that middle line, you're going to read on the right side the measurement. So who wants to, use the refractometer? That is a little more accurate than the $10 hydrometer from the pet store. It's 30? Hey, so they both were pretty spot on, which is good. And then I have this toy blue crab because I was tired of getting pinched by blue crabs. But a lot of times we'll catch crabs out here as well. And so blue crabs are important for the fishery in North Carolina. And you can tell the males from the females by looking on their bellies. This is a male blue crab. Has a lighthouse on the belly. The female would have a wider, what we call apron, so either like a half circle or a triangle if she's younger. Because what do the females have to carry? The eggs. And though it's like a big orange sponge, she'll carry millions of eggs out into the open ocean to release them. And I have some field guides that I really love if you're working out here in the field with students. This one is my favorite. North Carolina Nature Guide to North Carolina Coast by Peter Meyer. It has pictures, and then it gives you just like a page or so on the species, and it's all like relevant kind of fun facts. It's not too much crazy information, but I do love this book. And then this one has a lot of good pictures of different shells and animals with just a very brief amount of information beside that too. And so I love this one too, Living Beaches of Georgia and the Carolinas. And then I have another laminated sheet that I'll show you of at the truck that is a bioindicator key that we made for estuaries using a research paper that someone from the state had done in Duke University Marine Lab. They had done a ranking of the estuary species and based it on which species lived in cleaner water versus like a water quality indicator. And so I have a similar ID sheet for that, and the kids can look to see what they're finding. If it lives in very clean water, then that can give them the indicator that this is a healthy environment.
Can you share
And
that paper?
yes, I have it right up there, and I'll send it to you as well. And then my main takeaway for that is that when we have a healthy estuary, we have a wide diversity of species. If we are only finding worms in the estuary, that would give us the indication that it was not a healthy environment. But we found a wide variety of species. It is a healthy estuary. Same thing goes in life. When we have a wide diversity of people in our community and in our classrooms, we have a healthy environment. So I'll try to get deep with them there too. And that is important for resiliency as well. Questions? That was really fast.
Can I take a picture of this document?
Yes, and I can send y'all all of this stuff too. And it is on that Distance Learning Lab webpage.
Okay. Yeah, that book.
That's how we kind of coach our kids up. We spread out either Legos or connecting blocks or whatever, and students get used to practicing laying those out and doing the math portion. Then we might graduate and go outdoors and find, like, I don't know, ant mounds or just different types of dandelions or grass or whatever. Put pine cones out if you need to, something like that, but just to give them extra practice at it. And then if you went into the field to do that activity, you don't have to spend all that time coaching them on how to use the tool. They know how to use the tool. Now they just need to know what they're looking for. So that might help speed up.
And I've even used hula hoops for that type of activity if you don't have access to a quadrat.
We made another teacher and I, we were part of CMAS's coastal cohort, which is kind of how I got started into this whole realm of environmental education. And we made an outdoor field game. We measured off the area and perimeter with the kids, and then we set out like bean bags or toys and gave them frisbees to kind of toss out. And so when the frisbee landed on that item, you're counting that as well as the other little things near it. So that's a good way to also kind of incorporate gaming with that part to kind of get them hooked, or some buy-in.
What's that?
Coordinate plane for math.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You just coordinate plane all
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it in the forest anywhere and get species diversity and all kinds of different stuff.
What is the tool called that? Okay, it's like a PVC pipe that it's just like a measuring stick, like a yardstick, but it's on a pipe and it's attached to a string that
Transects? Is that right?
Yeah.
The transects? To
is
measure?
attached to another pipe that's also a ruler and very, very long. And we did this activity with the quadrants at Rachel Carson, and it was so cool to write down the numbers that represented the slope change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know.
cool.
To me, it blew my mind, like numbers being real.
Yeah.
And I'm an adult, and I know numbers are real. But when we were like recording, like this spot is this number, and this spot is this number. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think that's the transects. I did that.
Transect.
Transect or something like that. I've done that as well at the same location, actually at Cape Lookout, and they had us start out in the water and work our way up to the shoreline with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we at Coastal Federation, we have, if you want to get into technology some, you could probably have a scientist come into the classroom and show the students this, but we have what's called an RTK unit, which is like a fancy GPS system that's on a pole, and we'll bring it out into the shoreline to measure the slope, and it will put pins on the computer for us so that we can mark it out in the field.
That's cool.
They use something like that on golf courses for fertilizer.
Okay.
Like River Landing
Yeah.
over in Wallace, they use that GPS system for their fertilizer.
Wow.
So they know how much fertilizer this section of the golf course needs versus that section.
Yeah.
So get samples and GPS it and pin it.
Yeah. That's
I
cool.
feel like they also use that when they're grading like stormwater ponds.
Mhm.
I feel like my husband has mentioned that before.
Yeah. I'm sure, and I think doing surveys with DOT and stuff, they use some of that high-tech equipment, which would be neat to bring to the classroom and show the students. some things people are using these days. Do y'all want to do the kind of debrief right now? Because it's already 3:30.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you for coming and joining us today, and hopefully you can take some stuff back with you to your classroom. Hopefully you come see us sometime, or we can come to your classroom too.
And you'll come to the park with your kids. Be good. Maybe we can schedule something. I'm the person who schedules all events, so just email me and I can give you a list of things that we offer. I know I was talking to a few people on the boat ride back, but we also have big canoes to bring down from Falls Lake, and they are 14-passenger canoes. We'll have 2 of them on site with a certified instructor, as well as, like, I'm a flat water for level 1. And if you guys are worried about, if admin has questions about water activities, we have water plans in place. Like, I'm more than happy to give you, and that goes for ferry service or wading in the water. Plus, our rangers are EMRs, emergency medical responders. So we try to cover all the bases, so there's not an excuse of why you can't get kids outdoors and actively engaged in learning. But we could take them out and go through the sound, through some oyster beds, out to like a little alcove where shrimp will jump into your canoe. And it's fairly shallow where you can see the bottom depending on the tide. And if the tide's high, we can go back even further back into that spot. So
We forgot about our periwinkle snail
sorry.
friends.
Yep.
These are little periwinkle snails. Don't know how to get them to come out of their shell. Some of you that have been working with Lori.
Oh, I can't remember. Hum?
Yes, they love it. Well, I think they're just curious and they feel the vibration, and sometimes they'll come out of their shells if you hum to them. So if the students are just being kind of rowdy, I'll pull some periwinkle snails and get them around me and say, let's hum Twinkle Twinkle Little Star together, and it kind of calms things down for 2 seconds. Does anybody want to hum a song?
Yes.
Shelly wants
I
to.
need an
Yeah.
oyster song.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
But they will ride up and down the grasses as the tide comes in and out. And blue crabs really love to eat periwinkle snails too. They'll shake the grasses until those snails drop down, and they'll gobble them up. But yeah, thank y'all.
Thanks for coming out.
Here. Appreciate y'all. And there's lots of ways we can be resilient and help the environment. And I think y'all are doing the resiliency curriculum later a little bit too.
Workshop. That's the packets that I gave you. We're doing that virtual session.
That's going to be awesome. I love working with that team and thinking about, ways that the environment is resilient and nature's resilient, and how we can model that in our own lives and in our own communities too.